If you're trying to create content with Claude, you've probably saved a LinkedIn infographic like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or this. Every one of them tells you to build an about file or brand voice file, but not one of them actually tells you what goes inside it. So, is it supposed to be a bio, a style guide, a paragraph? The fix is actually one document with 4 sections. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what goes in it so you can finally stop spending more time editing AI than it would have taken to write it yourself. And by the way, I'm Laura Zovelson, and every week I use AI to help me co-write my YouTube script, newsletter, blog posts, and social media. I've done the experimenting on this, so you don't have to. So here's what we're going to look at today. The exact 4 sections your brand voice file needs to have, the easiest way to create the information that goes in each section, and how to attach your instructions to a Claude project so you don't need to reload them every time. So let's dive into the 4 sections. So, section 1 that you have to have in your brand voice guide is audience. You have to tell the AI who you're talking to because, after all, communication, especially marketing content, isn't really about you. It's about the people you want to be your clients. And specificity, as with everything AI, is super important here. You can't just say my audience is adults or executives or small business owners. That's not going to allow it to be precise enough. It needs direction like senior executives who just stepped into a new role, or SaaS startups in the product management space trying to raise capital, or luxury destination resorts who want to get mentioned by AI. So you want to help AI narrow the word choices by identifying a very specific customer. Okay. Now, section 2 is, of course, your brand voice. So, what does brand voice even mean? Well, this is basically how you tell AI which friend you are. Are you Phoebe? Do things ever get floopy? Or are you more like Ross, academic and literal? So, the goal of this section is to identify core traits that help AI with word choice, with pacing, energy level. It's that kind of thing. So, what's important to understand here as you build this document is that each of these sections they work together to get AI to move away from the middle. And they also do one other thing that you don't think would be important, but turns out to make a huge difference when you're using AI for writing all the time. So the reality is that every time Chat or Claude releases a new model, it acts a little bit differently. So maybe you've noticed it, right? Some models are suck ups, some models ask questions before taking each step, some just seem inclined to get the job done and move on without you. So everything we're doing here is still very much in response to the fact that AI is a work in progress. So, by setting up this document that has guidelines about how we want to sound every time, it's a little bit of an end run around the inconsistencies from model to model. So, the models change, but you consistently sound like you. So, the third section that we need in this document is a little bit about your business and how you got to do what you do, a little bit about your bio. So, not everyone says you should include this, but I think it helps the AI create better content for you because, especially when you're writing marketing copy, it's useful for AI to know the end game. So, what is your content actually trying to get your audience to do or to buy? And I lump bio in this section because for a lot of us, our background and experience are connected to the businesses we run. So if the AI has some idea about who you are, then it might ask you questions like, hey, do you have a story from your experience that would help make this section stronger? Or here, let's put in this part about your background because it's going to increase your credibility, right? So you're just giving it more data that can help it write better for you. Because if you want to get clients from your content, everything you teach needs to connect back to what you offer. Otherwise, you're more like an influencer, right? You want to be creating content like a business owner. So, finally, in section 4, the last section of our document is going to be do's and don'ts. So, you know, the AI tells, right? The M dashes, or it's not X, it's Y, or no fluff, or let's fix that. Look, I'm sure you have your own list that makes you crazy, but that's exactly what goes in this section. So, emojis or no emojis, M dashes or not, never use the word synergy, right? This is where you put all of that. And this section is really going to make a difference about how you feel about the content it produces. It really does. So that's the big four sections of this document: audience, brand voice, business bio, and do's and don'ts. So now you know what goes in it. But how do you actually get that written in the fastest and easiest way so you can start using it? So here's my recommendations for how you start creating each section. For audience, like I said before, you have to start by getting super specific about your niche. And then you have three choices. The super fastest way is just put in your I help statement. I help this type of specific person or company solve this kind of problem so they can get whatever it is they want. And then I would just put in 3 to 5 bullet points about your ideal customer's frustrations, their pain points, and maybe another 3 to 5 bullet points about what they want and why they want it. And that's going to be just fine to get started. And then you can iterate over time. Again, this is going to be a living document. But if you want to go a level deeper, if you happen to have transcripts of client calls or even prospect calls that fit your ideal client, you can feed those into AI. Like literally, just upload the transcripts into the chat. And then you ask it to create a profile of your ideal client based on those conversations. Now, if you really want to get fancy, you can use a tool like Perplexity or Gemini, because those models excel at research, to create an ideal customer profile based on your niche. And you tell it you want it to cover pain points and buying patterns and all kinds of things are about your ideal customer. Okay. But here's the mistake you don't want to make: you don't want to copy and paste that entire research report into your brand voice document, because it's going to get too big and that's going to make the AI have a hard time reading it and giving all of the things similar weight when it's writing for you. Okay. So, what we want to do is once you have that research, you're going to ask the AI to summarize that into 2 to 3 paragraphs that would be good for your brand voice document. So keep the report, but for this document, what you want is a concise summary about the person you help, the problem you solve, and why they care. Okay, so then for creating the brand voice section, we actually have similar options. If you have 7 to 10 writing samples, or they can be spoken, so blog posts, newsletters, podcast transcripts, those are all good. You can put those into the chat. I'd say try to get 10 of them, and then ask the AI to create a brand voice summary for you, and then just copy and paste it into the document. But if you're like one of my clients who didn't have that because she hadn't started creating long form content yet, what you could do is just speak into the voice recorder on your phone and just tell it about yourself and your business. And then what I would do is upload that transcript into AI and ask it to create two summaries: one for your brand voice and the other for your business bio section. I would think that you would need to talk for 5 to 7 minutes for it to get a good idea of your style. What you could do is come up with 5 or 6 questions you want to answer about your business, and then just answer them like you were talking to a friend. Okay. Don't be too formal. You really want this to reflect how you actually talk. So on to the business bio section. If you use the method I just talked about, you're already done. But another way that you could do this quickly is just give it the links to your website and your LinkedIn page, or you actually probably have to do a screenshot of your LinkedIn page because LinkedIn doesn't let the bots scan it, and then just create the summary for there. And then finally, in the do's and don'ts section, this part of the document is probably going to evolve the most over time. So just start by listing all the AI tells that you find really annoying. And then when you find it putting stuff in your content that you don't like, keep a running list and then just add that in over time. I actually have a standard set of these that bug most people, and I just give that to all my clients as a starter pack and then let them add in their own on top over time. So now that you have this magical brand voice document, what do you do with it? So, regardless of whatever format you created in, so Google Doc or Word or Apple Pages, right? We need to get it into a format that AI can really work with. And it's not as straightforward as you would think. So, the type of file that AI reads the best is something called a Markdown or a .md file. So, if you made your document in Google Docs, all you have to do is download it on your computer the regular way. So that means going here to file, right? And then you go to download and you go down here and markdown. You just save it as a markdown file and then you put it on your computer and then you re-upload it to the AI, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. So if you use Microsoft Word or Apple, you can't directly download to a markdown file. So your best bet at this point is just to export it into a PDF or TXT file. Claude can read those too. So if that's what you know how to do, I would just do it that way. It's good enough to get started, and then you can worry about improving performance as you get more comfortable using AI this way. So now that we have the document, we need to get it into AI in a way that it can reference it every single time we go to write something. So let's hop on over to Claude and let me give you two options. So if you don't have a Claude account, you'll need to create one. And I recommend the lowest paid version is 20 bucks a month if you want the best results. So, option one is that every time you want to create content, you can upload this document into the chat. So, you just go to add files or photos, you add it right there, and then you say, hey, Claude, take a look at this file, and then we're going to write something. If it is in Google Drive, you can also add it directly from your Drive by pushing this button right here. But that's kind of a pain in the neck, and it's easy to forget to do it. So, a much easier way is to make it so Claude reads the document every single time. And the way you do that is we create a project. So, we come over here to this little thing that looks like a filing cabinet, and you hit this button and you say new project. And we can call this something like writing. All right. And don't worry about putting the project's goals there yet. And then you just say create the project. And so then what we do is we come down here to these files and we hit this plus sign. And again, upload from device or from drive and go ahead and attach the file that we just made, your brand voice document. And if you have that ideal client research report that I mentioned earlier, you can attach that right there too. And so now, every time you go to write your newsletter or a LinkedIn post or anything, you just start your chat conversation inside that writing project. And Claude will use the information in your brand voice document to create content that sounds a lot more like you and that's customized for your audience. And if you're not happy with the output, you just go in and keep fine tuning that brand voice document and help it improve. Now, I will say every time you update it, you do need to delete it and then reattach the new version. It doesn't self update. Okay. So we've talked a lot about brand voice today and Claude projects, but we didn't talk about why I recommend that you switch to Claude if you're creating content for your business and how you can take all your saved ChatGPT memory with you in about 2 minutes. So if you want to find out about that, this is the video I recommend you watch now.